chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes, episode 225. It is the start of season 6. 6 seasons of MinneZona Sports Live. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Kelly, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Paul Vold, Shield. What's going on there? Shield.
You know, I am at a point at this week where I need this week to be over, and there's no amount of caffeine that will be able to get me through the rest of this week. After the first few days of this week, kids don't want to sleep. Apparently, my body doesn't want me to sleep at all. I am completely disheveled, and I'm not going to lie. When I got home from work today, I almost completely forgot to set up because that's how my week is going, but luckily I did. Before I got the kids, I got some coffee on the way to get the kids as well. I was full soccer momming it from end of work to get back here before Sarah got home from work. But I'm happy that I remembered, and we've got another great show as always to kick off season 6.
You know, it's just there's a lot going on. That's the thing. It's
so
like
much going on.
We're locked inside. Yes, the Viking season's been over for a while. We've had some other things happening with the sports world. We got the Wild, you know, they're just bad luck, even though they're actually playing well. I mean, all things considered. Now you got the Super Bowl lined up. Teams that nobody wanted.
Pretty much.
I will say, and it's not a shot. I mean, I'm just speaking to the masses. I mean, the masses don't want this matchup. We wanted at least the Bills. Voldy, we are 0 for 2 on the circle the wagons with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. And it's also funny that video, too. When was that? 2014?
16.
2016. And I'm wearing a Chiefs jersey. That's just how
I know.
It's crazy how small the world is.
I know.
In that instance, too.
I know. It's insane.
Yep.
You could make it off as like a what's another team that was gosh, I can't not Dolphins because they have the orange and the white, but
no.
I don't know. You could somehow play it off. But yes, you were wearing a Chiefs jersey, but it was for the Mac attack. So that is something we have to consider here.
My dog right there.
That's your dog.
We should
guys,
see if we got him to come on the Super Bowl special.
Ooh, now that would be fun.
Hey, it's the Macklin Bowl. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I say bring him on. Let's go. Yeah. That'd be fun. So
shoot him a DM, see if we'd be able to.
Shoot him a DM. That's right. We could try it. Doesn't hurt to try. Guys, tonight, like I said, hot take. We got the Minnesota Wild, Kirillkaprizov out for a month. Not good. Dollar bill out for a month. We'll quick talk about that. And then, Matty C, this isn't a Minnesota story. Well, it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, of course, there's probably Minnesota connections through each team and everything like that. So we will quick recap a couple things with that. There's a lot to get to with that, so we'll do that. But, Voldy, we've got Where Are They Now? We are back. Josh Harding and Cedricgriffin. Yes, where are those guys now? We will tell you coming up here for Where Are They Now after Hot Take. And then we got a lot of good ARAs. We got NFL coaches going different places. The Lions coaches everywhere. Lions coaches signed everywhere. Jimmy Butler suspended indefinitely. I cannot wait for that one. I can't wait to just bask in the glory of that. Sounds like Shedeur is not going to be thrown at the combine. Thoughts on that we'll talk about. And then Kelseyplum traded to the Sparks, a big deal that happened over this past week. And the Brady Trophy, not the Lombardi Trophy. There's a lot to say about that. So we've got a jam-packed show. So I say we get it going with some Tator Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tator Tot Hot Take.
All right, it's time for that Tator Tot Hot Take. And we start off with the Minnesota Wild. The big news out of Minnesota, Dollar Bill Kirill, our guy. Voldy's wearing all wild, and I appreciate him wearing the all wild because they are playing right now as well, taking on the Maple Leafs.
Gross.
Yeah, there you go. Kirillkaprizov undergoing surgery, but his season is not over. There is a silver lining to this. It's not like he's going to be out the rest of the season and everything like that, but a month is a good chunk of time, we will say. He missed 12 of the last 15 because of a mysterious, and they say this too. I don't even know. They say lower body injury, but I'm not sure what it is. He missed 12 of the last 15, and he played against Chicago, and he only logged in 22 minutes and everything like that. Billy G confirmed yesterday morning, and he says minimum of 4 weeks, but let's be honest, it's probably going to be more than 4 weeks. But the Minnesota Wild have fared well within his absence. But obviously, we need Kirillkaprizov on the ice. It seems like this is a situation where he's got to heal up. He's getting back out on the ice, but the Wild have fared well. Voldy, as we've talked about here on this show about the Minnesota Wild, do you think this changes the outlook on what they want to accomplish this season? With him being out for a month, do you think that they could, fall back, or do you think they'll keep, winning in order to, keep up with the Avalanche and try to, at one point they were the number one seed for a while, and now not anymore. So do you think the Wild will be okay in Kaprizov's absence? What do you got?
I mean, it's really going to be a team effort, I feel, during this next 4-week plus stretch, because we don't know exactly to the full extent of what the journey back is going to be for Kirillkaprizov, even with going through surgery and even rehab before he can get back onto the ice. And it's also slightly concerning, even with guys playing 2/3 more games than Kirill at this point, 50 some odd games. Kirillkaprizov has only played 37 games this year, still leads the team in goals, assists, points, and even plus minus for a guy that has literally touched ice once in probably the last 4-6 weeks, something like that, or maybe even less. But on top of that, I should say at least the last month, because he played one game, and the last time he played before that was just before the New Year. So that is a little bit concerning. The fact he still leads the team with 52 points. The next closest guy is Matt Boldy, who's played 50 games, is at 45 points. That is a little bit of concern, but it's going to be really a team effort in spreading the wealth for sure. Boldy, Rossi, Zuccarello as well, Joel Eriksson Ek on top of it. Those guys are definitely going to have to shoulder a lot of the burden. Defensively, getting back Jared Spurgeon in the last couple weeks has been a really big help for sure, but going to have to really lean on a lot of the experience with Middleton. You throw in Bogosian on top of that, who's played just about every game this season. But, with a month to go with a month stretch here, they're looking at probably 20, 25 games, at minimum 25, I would say. and at that point, there's only probably a week or two left of the regular season before playoffs start. So the Wild are in a situation where treading water really isn't going to be much of an option. They're going to have to, maybe make a move or two before the deadline here, before Kaprizov comes back. But I feel like with the combination and goaltending that they have thus far in this season, of course, with Gustafsson and with Marc-Andre Fleury, they've been able to get a few things done. But I know for sure that with Gustafsson getting the shoulder, the lion's share of the starts, it's been all right so far. But I know that this is going to be a labor of love here for the next month, I feel in my mind.
So they might be taking off life support is what you're saying, right?
Who knows? I mean, they're breathing. They're
breathing.
Still breathing right now.
Hey, they're breathing. That's all that matters at this point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think like you said, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, because after Kaprizov, it's, Boldy, Rossi, Zuccarello, Joel Eriksson Ek. I mean, those guys have to step up when he's out again. I think they can do it. It's just to a point where hopefully teams haven't figured out, okay, this is how you stop them. If we, stop their two big point scorers and Boldy, Rossi, Zuccarello, and everything like that, then we have a chance. Now, with Kaprizov, with the recent news of Kaprizov being out, the Wild are up 2-0 over the Leafs right now. That is a good sign. Now, I think having him later on will help. Now, I think one thing we have to be wary of, and especially when they weren't specific on what the injury is, because usually that means, okay, well, if we're really game planning, it's about a month. Okay, well, here's a question. Are we sure it's going to be a month? Could it be 2? I mean, if it's 2, that's not good, obviously. So, I look at this and I say, hopefully, if it's a minimum of 4 and he's trending in the right direction, then we're in good shape. But the Wild have shown this year, because there's been a lot of improvement, I feel like, from this year to last year. Last year, they were in a rut, a lot of injuries that they had and everything like that. And, they didn't make the playoffs, unfortunately. And this is kind of the last year where it's like, okay, the Parise Suter contracts are out. We have money to spend. And I think this offseason for the Minnesota Wild is very crucial for the organization and Bill Guerin. Especially him. So I think John Hines has done a phenomenal job so far with this group. And I think he's kind of shown like he knows what he's talking about, and the guys, I think, really respect him. And they've shown why they're still up there. I'm not saying they're going to win the Stanley Cup or anything, but I mean, they'll be competitive. I mean, you look at some of these other teams like Vancouver. I mean, they're 22, 17, and 10. I mean, not the best. 54 points. Nashville, 43. Look at Pittsburgh, 48, and Utah, 49. So they have an opportunity. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't know if it's enough to go against Avalanche, go against, big teams like that to get by. So, it's key for him to come back if they want to make a real push and finally get out of that damn first round. That's if they make the playoffs. So, so with them being up 2-0 and everything like that, anything else to add with that, Voldy?
I think we'll really learn a lot here with this East Coast trip that they're on right now. Of course, they're at Toronto tonight. Then they go to Montreal, Ottawa, and Boston. Boston, unfortunately, has been garbage, to say the least, and keep it PG with a sprinkle of 13 for the show here. But there are going to be some competitive battles with Montreal and Ottawa. Looking at their schedule coming up, they've got a lot of matchups against, Eastern Conference teams before coming back. And then you get a little bit of Detroit, some Utah, little bit of some Colorado in the mix on top of it. This is going to be a very interesting stretch for the Wild here. I mean, over the next week, they've got 5 games here over the week that there's going to be East Coast teams for sure. And we learn a lot out of that. I feel like if you get, let's say 3 out of those 5, I feel like they'll be all right. But as of late, there's been some tough stretches for them coming into tonight. 29-17-4. They've won 2 of the last 7 games on top of that, with some bad losses to Nashville, Edmonton, even a tough one against Calgary. They're going to have to really buckle down here in this stretch of these games if they're going to be quite competitive here in the second half of the season.
Another team I forgot to mention, Winnipeg. Good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been a thorn in their side for a little bit now, the Wild.
Since they came back in 2010.
That's right. And I'm looking at that. I mean, it is pretty brutal. It's just they have a lot of away games, and they don't come home until they have to play against the Hurricanes, Carolina.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tough in itself too. So we'll keep an eye on things, see how it goes. But as it currently stands, the Wild are still up 2-0. And we can keep you updated throughout the show. So that'll do it for that. Let's get to these conference championship games. Voldy, I mean, I think I was the only one this week that got one right. And
you were.
I knew that Philadelphia, the Eagles were going to, put it together against the Commanders because
sadly.
Look, they do have a good defense. They have a really good offense as well.
Mm-hmm.
They force turnovers. You had that De'Ami Brown, I think I said his name right, that had a really good postseason, and then he fumbles. Oh, Austin Eckler fumbles now. That McNichols guy fumbles. I mean, this is the Eagles are prepared for this. As they have guys that have been in this position before. Go back 2 years ago when they played against those Chiefs. So this is a Super Bowl rematch from 2022. Now, I think I got that right. 2022. Yeah.
2022 season. Yes.
2022 season. Yes. Thank you. So now you're in this situation where Jaden Daniels hasn't played in an NFC Championship game, obviously, and he didn't play awful by any means. He played actually pretty well considering. It was just I feel like it killed a lot of their drives. Saquon off the first play in that game was phenomenal. I mean, he just went off and just the guy has if you're looking about how bad the Giants are right now, I mean they're probably pissed. Super pissed about that whole thing, and I'm still shocked that they didn't let go Shane and Daboll. I mean, it's just you let your rival do that to you and everything like that with with Saquon, and he's having a hell of a time doing it, and it just kind of shows they are good. We might not like 95% of the fans and how they act and greasing up the light poles and everything like that, and eating guns.
Horse manure.
Yeah, eating horse manure, shooting guns in the air for no reason. I mean, it's just a lot of.
Them Johns be crazy over in Philly.
Yeah,
Them Johns is crazy.
So, yeah, that game was just kind of when the Eagles got up about 2 scores. I was pretty much saying they're going back. They're going back to the Super Bowl. That's where it's going. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the game?
I mean, I didn't really get a whole chance to – actually, I did get a whole chance to watch the game. As soon as it got up to a 2-3 score advantage, I'm just like, I think the magic out of Washington is done. But this is just what happens when you give a great running back like Saquon Barkley, who made plays for the Giants with absolutely no help from the offensive line. You give him an offensive line, and boy, did he run for days. I knew that offense was going to be predicated on whether they're going to be able to get Saquon quality time on the run, and they did that plenty. I thought the most hilarious part was the linebacker for Washington trying to jump the tush push at the goal line.
Luvu, yeah.
Closer and closer. I'm just like, come on! It's the only way they're going to be able to stop it. And the fact
That's
the ref
true.
is just like, look, we've warned him. If he does it again, we're going to give them the score regardless of whether they get in or not. I'm just like, come on. Let the guy do it. He almost came close at least one of the times, and trying to time up that snap is quite something on the old tush push. But the game as a whole, I mean, this is not a knock on Jalen Hurts, but he was a game manager in that contest. He did exactly what he needed to. Not turn over the ball. You give it to your playmakers and let them do it from that point. And he had good time in the pocket, maybe not completely as mobile as he wanted to be to extend some plays. Give the ball to Saquon, make some throws here and there. Dallas Goedert had a nice game. He's had a really nice postseason. Give the ball to, of course, A.J. Brown, and you give it to Saquon, good things will happen. And ultimately, that is what worked to their favor in getting that win.
Another thing too, and I think that you wanted to see this if you're an Eagles fan, with A.J. Brown. He finally kind of gets some targets. He plays well. Devontae Smith had a pretty good game. Dallas Goedert
Try to beat up Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, that was interesting in itself. I said this to Pop Callahan and my sister. We were watching the games. I would never want Marshawn Lattimore on the Vikings at all.
Ew.
Like he's always getting in fights, the flags everywhere.
Just thank God that Mike Evans wasn't on the Eagles. Otherwise, this would have definitely been a body bag game for sure.
Let's be honest. The fans would be on the Eagles. Fans would be on the
field.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe that.
They would have definitely been throwing batteries at Marshawn Lattimore for sure.
Yeah, and was it raining that game? I can't remember if it was or not. No, I don't think it was. But then again, I was going to say, they throw snow or something like that. But no, that was the Rams game.
Yeah, threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, right. So, again, I hate to say it, and I hated to say it in my picks, but, again, they're good. I mean, they have a solid offensive line. You see what a good offensive line gets you. You look at the Eagles. You look at the Chiefs. Good Lord. I mean, you can do wonders with a really good offensive line. Who would have thunk that? Hint, 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 Vikings. But yeah, this game was just pretty much a blowout. We'll talk more about it with our Super Bowl special that will be back again. Yeah.
Whoa.
We have a lot of fun with that. Man, we had guests on. We had some other people on. We've had a really fun time. So mark your calendars. Super Bowl Sunday. We'll keep you updated with more details. So let's move on to the other game. The game that we thought, man, this has got to be it. Has to be it. Come on, Bills.
Team of destiny.
You can do it. And well, we should have known better because those damn Kansas City cheats. Oh, sorry, I meant Kansas City cheaters. Oh, wait, hold on. Kansas City refs. Whoa, oh, geez, oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Yes, the Kansas City refs. Oh, sorry, I did it again. Kansas City Chiefs, 32, Buffalo Bills, 29. A lot to unpack with this, and let's just go with the controversial one, Voldy. Why don't we just start with that?
Let's do it.
Josh Allen, 4th and inches. The Bills had the ball. It looked like he got it. I thought he got it. I think everybody seeing the replays and everything thought he got it as well. The referees did not think so. Voldy,
one thought they did.
One thought,
initially.
Yeah.
One line judge did. The other one's like, nope.
No, it's like, nah, we good. Voldy, your thoughts on that call right there, and then we'll talk about the officiating. What do you got?
They always say that the yellow line that we see on TV, it's not official. But even with that, I mean, he was a good half, if not 3/4 of a football length past the yellow line. And the fact that you had one side judge come up and say, yes, he got the first down. The other one saying, no, he did not. where is the continuity on that? Where is, the review on that? Of course, him coming through the massive humanity, balls tucked under him, not really going to be able to get a good view. But you would feel in this day and age, with all the technology, all the camera angles, everything that is available to us, that we would be able to eliminate the human error and the judgment call when it comes to whether a player or not got the first down. And this continues just to, piss everybody off, except if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, because you're happy because they got the ball back, and from that point on, you were just good. I felt like in this game, besides that call, there wasn't a whole lot of blatant, oh, that's a call for the Chiefs. That's where this game goes sideways. The Bills had plenty of chances to put to stay out in front and maybe sneak away with this one. Just because they missed that first down on fourth, especially at the end of the game, a minute and a half to go, couple of timeouts, and they couldn't get the Chiefs off the field. That would have been a golden chance to maybe get a comeback on that, at least get something going for a field goal try, but it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. You look back on it, why go for two so early in the game? You put away the fact that you went for two at least twice in the first half, if not once in the first half, once early in the second half. That's 2 points off the board automatically. You're only losing by one at that point, as opposed to kicking a game-winning field goal instead of a game-tying field goal. That's where I get really confused on the fact that they went for two so early and often after one missed. I believe there was a missed extra kick point from Tyler Bass on the first one, if not the second touchdown drive. But there was some points in that contest where that offense for the Bills was sputtering. But Kansas City, their home field, and just found ways to just continue to drive the ball. Travis Kelce had a nice showing as well. He's kind of come alive here in the postseason after a rough season, I'll say, as a whole. Maybe not to his liking, but Kansas City's back in the Super Bowl, and don't feel like a lot of people are going to be watching this one. At least that's what they say.
they say that, and like we said,
what else are you going to watch next Sunday?
The dog show?
6:30?
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it. A couple things. One, I do remember that the Bills, after they scored to cut it to 5, they were up 16 to 21. They kick the extra point, and then the Chiefs go off sides. So they move the ball closer, and let me tell you, the Bills' 2-point conversion plays, not good. Really not good. They tried to push it with Allen, their own version of the tush push and everything like that. It just didn't work. And I agree. I was the first to say, listen, they had their chances. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They had their chances. But for them to change, or for them to, reverse the call on the field, they said, well, we couldn't see the ball. We don't know where the ball was. It's like, the ball is clearly over the line. If the ball was back in his, let's just say his probably right shoulder, if you could see the ball, then maybe they would have an argument. But they really don't have an argument for that.
No.
But it's like, well, it's got to be obvious and everything. It's like, well, I think that's pretty obvious. And a lot of people are thinking the same thing. So there's that factored in. But again, like we said, they had their chances. Now, I think a lot of calls did go the way of Kansas City. That one, and then the apparent catch that by Xavier Worthy and everything like that. I mean, listen.
What is that?
There's two outcomes to that. The third one, they decided to go with the third one because why? Chiefs. One. They clearly have the ball, or he clearly has the ball. I'm not sure if what DB it was. It was like 24 or something.
Elam?
No, he was 5. I know that for sure because they kept talking about him.
It's not Teron Johnson, is it?
I think he's
running
6.
back.
Damn it, I can't remember. It's something 24. Anyway, we can look it up. Yeah, we can look it up here in a sec. But he has it clearly in his hands. And I feel like if he has it right away like that and kind of tucks it, I think that you should call that an interception. Now, they didn't. The call on the field was a catch, which is harder to reverse because
the Chiefs receiver came in 4 seconds after the ball was intercepted.
Correct.
Like, how was that even a catch in the first place?
I don't understand. Now, but when he has the ball hits the ground before Worthy can even get his hand on it and everything. So those were the two outcomes. The third one, they said, no, it's a catch. How? There's like, it's, tie goes to the receiver. We know that rule. We already know that rule.
The receiver wasn't even on base at that point.
Tie
goes to the receiver. The receiver was in the 5th row.
Yeah.
It was even close.
Yeah.
Even the fact that it could have been incomplete, like the rule is, the ball has to really move. If the ground, if you see it move as it comes, like that ball, as soon as it went down, it didn't even. I felt like it didn't even move. It should have been an interception. Honestly.
I agree, and they should have went with the first option and everything like that. But another thing that they did, which I thought was a little bit egregious, I think Mahomes scored on the touchdown, and his spike was so bad. It was just he lost the ball. You can see it in the article that we have. Good Lord. But shortly after that, they kind of stared down. I know who the guy was. It was Bishop, 24. I just said no.
Bishop,
there you go.
that's right.
The apparent not interception, but a catch, apparently. Damar Hamlin, makes the tackle on Mahomes, but it's in the end zone, so he scores a touchdown. Mahomes kind of taunts him, but who comes trotting right over to Damar Hamlin is Travis Kelce. Kelce goes in and he starts talking trash and everything like that. And the NFL, the whole season, Voldy, the whole freaking season was like, no taunting, nothing along those lines. Let me do a comparison real quick. The touchdown that Justin Jefferson had against, who was it?
Yeah.
Witherspoon or whatever. Yeah, they were John back and forth before. But again, that's wide receivers, DBs.
Yep.
In the end zone, he does the gritty, and he gets flagged 15 because he looked at him.
Yep.
I mean, but Travis Kelce, he gets in the face of Damar Hamlin, and Mahomes kind of taunts him by throwing the ball towards him and everything like that. No call from the referees. But until a defensive lineman from the Bills comes over and starts getting in Kelsey's face, and he's like, I didn't do anything and everything like that. Oh, guess who gets the flag? The Bills player. Yep. You see, this is the problem. The problem is the NFL trying to protect the Chiefs, right? Because they're the ones that are selling all the merchandise with all the jerseys and everything like that. We have the tight end Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift. We show her every time they score a touchdown and them happy and everything like that. We want to make sure that we protect everything with the Chiefs. They have to make it to the Super Bowl, and they got to win. This is a business, and this is why people don't trust the NFL right now, is because they're favoring their protected brand in the Kansas City Chiefs, whereas you have the Bills who, you got Josh Allen, but what do you got after that? You're not selling all these jerseys and everything, like selling merchandise, the Swifties. You don't have the Swifties and everything like that. Yeah. Whatever happened to, listen, we want it fair for everybody. I don't care how much money you sell or anything like that.
Right.
We got to make this as fair as can be. I know it's not everything's perfect. But again, it comes down to NFL, what's going to make us the most money, getting the Chiefs in there. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't deserve it, but the calls in that game, there can't be favoritism. And when I see something like that, I see a lot of favoritism. So, Sam Darnold had his head ripped off, and apparently that's not a penalty. So, just saying. But with that being said, Unfortunately, the Bills take the L, and the Chiefs are moving on. It is what it is, and they got it. They got it done per se, even though there should have been some calls made that wasn't called and or should have been called. But they take on the Eagles and Voldy. Yeah. That's when we move into our Super Bowl special. So.
Great.
We'll talk about that. The matchup nobody wanted, but that's what you guys are gonna get, and you're gonna watch it anyway. So yeah, I guess we got to kind of save what we got for Super Bowl Sunday, which will be not this weekend, but the weekend after. That's right. We will have more on that in the coming days. So that'll be interesting. We're looking forward to that. We invite zoners to hop on with us if need be. That'd be fun. So
for all those that aren't going to be watching the Super Bowl, why not join us?
Yeah, why don't you just air your grievances with us?
Exactly.
Air your grievances with us. Then we'll be more than happy to listen to what you got. You could even shred the team. I don't care. Exactly. So, with that being said, Voldy. It's time for Where Are They Now? We got Josh Harding. We've got Cedricgriffin. Yes. Two guys who I feel like were a little underappreciated, I will say. A little bit underappreciated. I got Griffin. Voldy has Harding, so we got a lot to get to with those two guys. And, so let's get it going with... Where'd they go? Where are they now? I don't see them. Are they there? They here?
Check your milk carton. It's time for Where Are They Now?
All right, it is time for Where Are They Now? Voldy, I'll start off with Cedricgriffin. How about that?
All right.
Let's do that. Cedricgriffin, former Minnesota Vikings cornerback. Let's just say I feel was very underappreciated as a Minnesota Viking. He was one heck of a corner for the Minnesota Vikings. He was drafted in the second round of the 2006 NFL draft out of the University of Texas. Hook 'em horns. The one thing I got to add with that, horns down, Voldy. I knew that was coming. I know.
Horns
but
down.
Hey, there's a lot of people that'll put that out there. But we can appreciate one Cedricgriffin. Cedricgriffin played for the Longhorns 4 years. And again, he was very solid. He was a hard hitter. Obviously, he made a lot of plays at Texas and whatnot. In 2004, he had 2 interceptions, couple fumble recoveries the next season as well. And he was a very good corner for them. And he was on the team that won the national title against USC in that awesome matchup. Probably one of the best college games I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. And he was part of that. So that is really cool. So, like I said before, he was selected by our Minnesota Vikings. Second round, number 48 overall. He joins Michael Huff, who was also in that draft, marking the first time since 1997 that two have been selected in the same draft when Bryant Westbrook was chosen by the Detroit Lions in the first round, and Tajay Allen was picked by the St. Louis Rams in the 5th round. Along with Huff, Griffin's selection gives the Longhorns a defensive back selection in 4 of the past 5 drafts. So a lot of Longhorns in the draft there. So the Vikings drafted him in the event that, developing and making him a starter and whatnot. He was the highest defensive back at the time drafted by the Vikings since Orlando Thomas back was selected in 1995. Can't say I remember that because I was probably 1 year old. But, anywho, so Cedric comes into training camp. He's not starting right away or anything like that. He wasn't a first-round pick per se, but second round, I mean, you expect to develop and get some snaps and everything like that. But the expectation was for him to be nickel or a dime back, and somebody went down with an injury with a broken arm, and who steps in that nickelback role was one Cedricgriffin. This was in his first season, and he did quite well. The coaches were impressed by his play, and he logged his first career interception against who other than the Detroit Lions, who were, again, very bad at the time. But what's interesting, Voldy, end zoners, is that eventually Cedricgriffin would overtake starting cornerback spot from prized free agent. You want to guess who that is? Fred Smoot. Yes, Fred Smoot. Remember Fred Smoot, Voldy? That big deal that we signed him to, and just, that was the...
I don't want to remember now.
That was... what was it called? Oh, gosh. The Love Boat.
There you go.
Yeah. That whole Love Boat situation. But I don't think Griffin was involved in any of that, so thankfully. But, as a starter, his first season, not as good. Not great. He didn't have a lot of interceptions or anything like that, but he got beat a lot, which is, I feel like being a starter, there's a lot of pressure and whatnot for a corner in that situation. Now, he definitely improved in 2008. I mean, he played well, recording over 100 tackles with 1 interception, so that you'd like to see progress there. So he has definitely kind of moving in the right direction. The Minnesota Vikings, he was a part of that 2009 season. The Vikings knew, hey, we might have something here with him because I think he can be a very good starter for us for years to come. On March 21st, 2009, the Vikings re-signed Griffin to a 5-year contract for a little more than $25 million. So the contract contained $10 million in guaranteed money. Nowadays, it's definitely skyrocketed. So, but a good chunk of change, don't get me wrong. In 2009, he had his best season. The 09 Vikings, 09 to 2010, or 09 season, 4 interceptions that season, which was helpful to the Vikings getting to the NFC Championship game. Recorded 78 tackles, forcing 3 fumbles. So, in the game, and I did not know this while I was reading up on this, Voldy, very interesting to me. In that game, he tore his anterior cruciate ligament. Don't know what that is, but we'll go with that.
ACL.
Oh, it's ACL. Duh. And his left knee. I'm just like, wait. I just said it. Yeah. ACL, which was, successfully repaired in the offseason. He rehabilitated throughout the preseason, was able to return to 2010 to play. So, he had probably his best season as a Viking that year. And he, unfortunately, the same season, and this was supposed to be the season of unfinished business, the Vikings, getting back and winning it all, which completely went to crap. I mean, literally went to crap. He actually got hurt against the Jets in Week 5, sustained an injury to his right knee, so he's got an injury on his right knee, and then, however, the next day, MRI, guess what? Tore his ACL in the right leg. So, season-ending reserve, there really wasn't much in between. He struggled a little bit with the injuries and whatnot. So the Vikings actually let him go March 10th, 2012. So this was kind of the beginning of the end for him as a Viking, unfortunately. But he did sign a 1-year, $2.5 million contract with the Washington Redskins in March 16th, 2012. Unfortunately, late in the first half of the 2012 season opener versus the Aints, he tackled Marquise Colston, another name, blast from the past. He made a good play on it. There was a fumble. It was ruled a touchback that actually helped the Washington Redskins at the time win the game, which is interesting in itself. On December 4th, though, he was suspended 4 games due to violating the NFL's policy on performance-enhancing substance, which at the time he tested positive for Adderall, which I think has changed now. I'm not sure, but he did return to the Washington Redskins at the time, and then eventually he sustained another injury, and then that was the end of it. That was his career. So now the big question is, where is he now? Well, that is I had to do some digging. I had to do a lot of digging here, Voldy. But I will say, he has hopped on the Texas Longhorns podcast a couple times, and he is, he's doing quite well. He has, I think he's got like 4 or 5 kids. One of his kids, who's also named Cedricgriffin, he is going to Texas Tech. So good for him. He's playing football, everything. He's playing D-back, like his pops and everything like that. So he's just kind of taking it easy. I think he's coaching a little bit, but he's letting his son just kind of, experience it and kind of letting him have the limelight and whatnot. But he helps and whatnot with his son. But I mean, he's in Lago Vista in Texas, and husband, father, coach, and he's having a good life. He's living the good life down there, and you never really see him talk about the Vikings or anything. I don't know if he's on any social media or whatnot. But I will say that I feel like a lot of fans kind of doubted him, especially, he had his up and downs and whatnot with the Vikings. But I think if he didn't get injured that next season after, I still think he would have been a key part to the Vikings defense. I mean, they still had, most of the guys that they had from that 2009, but things just unraveled and it turned into a crap show real quickly. So, So yeah, that's kind of where he is now. He's doing great, and it'd be cool to get him on the show and talk a little Vikings and whatnot. I'd love to talk the 2009 game. I would love to talk that 2009 game with him. I'd like to get some insight as well. But I still think he was underappreciated a little bit. I really liked the way he played. I think I if I'm not mistaken, one of my buddies brought a Texas Longhorns hat to training camp, and I think he did sign it. He's like, yeah, hook 'em horns and everything like that. So it's kind of cool. But Cedricgriffin, that's where he is now, and he's doing well. So, and this is an invitation to him. Come on the show. We'd love to talk with you, Cedric. So
absolutely,
we'll go with that. All right, Voldy, who you got this time round?
Of course, don't let the garb fool you. Yes, we are going to be talking about a Minnesota Wild player, that being your favorite backup goaltender's favorite backup goaltender. That's right. We are talking about Minnesota Wild legend Josh Harding. You take a look at that picture, and there are a couple of things why I chose Josh Harding. Look at that pad setup, the gold pads with the red and the green. That was hard to miss in those mid-aughts for the Minnesota Wild. Going from number 29 to number 37, that is a question I've always wanted to ask a professional athlete. Why switch numbers middle of your career, and including for Josh Harding, why go from 29 to 37, which was just completely random at one point during the year, but it hasn't been a smooth ride for Josh Harding in his career. Of course, coming out of the likes of Regina, Saskatchewan, of course, getting drafted fairly high for his hometown Regina Pats out of the Western Hockey League, and also playing a significant time with the Brandon Wheat Kings, very prominent major junior programs out of Canada. At one point, he was the top goaltender and top player in the WHL, which does bring a lot of recognition in his draft eligible year, which came in 2002 in the NHL draft, which he was drafted by the Minnesota Wild, 38th overall, so a second round pick from that. He eventually ended up making his debut with the Wild in 2004, but really didn't get settled into the Wild system up until probably as a full-time goaltender 2007-2008, where he served primarily as a backup at that time with the likes of Nicholas Backstrom, post Manny Fernandez time in the Wild uniform. But in his career, did fairly well. But it wasn't up until the 2011-2012 season, where he went up with a very modest 13 wins, 12 losses, and 4 overtime losses. Not too bad as well. But during that stretch, there were a few bumps on the road. Of course, it was in 2010 where he tore his ACL and MCL in a contract year in a preseason game. So not even the regular season. He ultimately did blow up his knee in that game. And then over the summer did end up signing a 1-year contract extension to at least stay with the Wild for another season. But fast forwarding all the way through that season into 2012, it was discovered after signing a 3-year, $5.7 million contract that Josh Harding was actually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS, if you will, that kept him from with balance and coordination issues, blurred vision, a lot of things you need to be a successful goaltender in the NHL. But even with that taking place, he was able to battle through, took some time away from the Minnesota Wild, and coming back in his first start post-diagnosis and getting things settled. In that start, January 20th of 2013, he stopped all 24 shots in a 1-0 shutout win against the Dallas Stars. After that season came through in the 2013 Stanley Cup playoffs, he did ultimately come back and made a couple of starts against the likes of the top team in the NHL, that being the Chicago Blackhawks, and he worked their way to unfortunately lose that series, but still was very competitive, and throughout that series exemplified a lot of things that an ultimate award would get awarded to him, that being the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy, a award that is handed out in the likes of sportsmanship through adversity in the NHL, and is also named after former Minnesota North Stars player Bill Masterton. Now, there were a few things at the beginning and end of his career as well. 2013-14, he was he was leading the league in goals against average and save percentage through December, but he ended up having to go on to injured reserve due to a modification in his treatment protocol for MS. But then, with the starting goaltending position up for grabs in the 2014-15 season, he ultimately suffered a broken foot, which then ultimately derailed his plans on top of that. You throw a shortened season due to the lockout in the mix of all of that. His career ultimately never really came back from that point. 2013-14 was the end of his time in a Minnesota Wild in Minnesota sweater. I mean, he was up at one point 18 wins, 7 losses, and 3 overtime losses. A very good start for him before he ended up, unfortunately, getting injured at that point of the season. But at that time, you just look back at his career, never really got fully started, had some good opportunities on top of it. Even during the lockout season where he was diagnosed with MS, things were looking promising to at least make that next step, because he wasn't even a full-time goalie in his playing career up until the age of 12. And usually by that point, you're pretty well solidified in your position on the ice. And 6 years after that, he was actually looking to be a starting goaltender at the professional level. Now, following his retirement from the NHL, it hasn't been too far away that you haven't seen Josh Harding lurking around the XL Energy Center. In fact, he is actually the goalie coach for the Edina Hornets varsity boys hockey program, which captured the state championship in the Class 2A tournament this past season. So Josh Harding isn't too far away from the hockey rinks, and especially with his time in Minnesota. The Canada native is enjoying time with being, of course, retired and also still coaching. So he's never too far away. But Josh Harding was always a goaltender I look back on with his time in Minnesota. Wish you could have gotten a little bit more recognition. It was definitely underappreciated in many levels. And that's where he is right now. He's just coaching, and he's living. State champion as well after this season with the Edina Hornets.
Well, there's only one right way to do this. Anytime there is mention of Edina Hornets.
Yeah, I know.
But hey, I got respect for Josh Harding. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. As the Tator has joined us, he is up and at 'em. Probably be out in a second. That'll be, and he's happy to be here. He's loving it. So,
he's happy because
anywho,
he's hungry.
oh no, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, yeah, that's what we got, ladies and gentlemen. We got Josh Harding and Cedricgriffin. That's who we got. So, as always, when we do this, we've had a lot of success getting those guys on the show, those types of guys and whatnot. So, hey, you never know. The invitation is out to them. We'd love to chat with them.
I may have a friend of a friend of a friend who might be able to put in a word with Josh Harding. I don't know. The person that I know is also a goalie. Is a goalie coach, runs his own program. See if maybe he knows said guy or has crossed paths with him. I would feel about 37% confident that he might have at some point, but we'll see. See if we can get Josh Harding to come on the pod. That'd
be great. Him, Cedricgriffin. I could send a DM to his son. We'd love to have him on too. Really? Talk. He is also. I forgot to mention. I think I didn't mention this, but he decided to go to Texas Tech. But guess what? One of his colleges that was interested in him. The
Minnesota,
Gophers.
I'm assuming.
Yep, the Gophers. So it's unfortunate. That'd be great because then that would be easier for us. But unfortunately, not this time around. So, with that being said, that'll do it for Where Are They Now this time around. A lot of good ones, obviously. But let's get things going with ARA. We've got the NFL head coaching hirings that we'll talk about. We got Jimmy Butler suspended indefinitely. I cannot wait for this one. And then you got sheduersanders not thrown at the combine. There's a lot to be said about that. Really, actually not that much, to be honest. But kelseyplum traded to the LA Sparks in a big trade in the WNBA and the Brady Trophy, not the Lombardi anymore. We'll talk about that too. So let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, Tate, why don't y'all rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start off in the world of the NFL, where there have been a bevy of head coach hiring since the last time we spoke. We spoke about, of course, the hiring of Mike Vrabel up in New England. But since then, there's been more than a few. I believe we talked about the Ben Johnson hiring in Chicago last week. Don't quote me correctly on that. Yes, we did. Also, former defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, Aaron Glenn, got picked up by the New York Jets, a team that he was hired by. I should say that he was hired by and drafted by as well. The coach that drafted Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets, Pete Carroll. He's back in the NFL after reaching a 3-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Dallas Cowboys decided to keep things in-house with the hiring of offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer to take over the HC role. And finally, in a startling twist of really just a melodramatic situation down in Florida. Well, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen is now head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars after they fired their GM and decided to bring in a head coach before getting a GM. Now, with all those being thrown into the mix of the head coach hirings here in the last week plus, which of these coaches do you see having the most success next season? Aaron Glenn, Brian Schottenheimer, Pete Carroll, Liam Cohen, and since we already talked about Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel too, we already talked about them having success.
Yep.
Of the ones that we just mentioned here since last week, who do you think will have the most success next season?
Right away, I say Pete Carroll. And the reason why is because the Raiders organization has been pretty bad for a long time.
Right.
They really have had, they had McDaniels and he wasn't good. They had John Gruden, had to get rid of John Gruden again. And then you just kind of had this weird limbo with Antonio Pierce, which I thought having him back again wasn't the smartest idea, especially with how he handled the quarterback situation. I think he needs more coaching opportunities in order to, be that guy. But I say Pete Carroll because he knows what it takes to have a winning product on the field. They don't have a quarterback right now. There's been some rumors that I believe that they're going to try to make a run at Russell Wilson. But I don't see. I doubt that. People are telling him to take that guy. It's like, listen, Pete Carroll knows what he's doing. He's a lot older now. Let's be honest. But again, I just think the 3-year deal for him, I think is the perfect way for him. Okay, let me right the ship a little bit and see where I'm at that point. And if he's like, well, I'm just, I'll probably retire. And then they bring in one of his guys that's kind of similar to him. So I say right away, Pete Carroll. I look at the Brian Schottenheimer deal. Listen, Jerry Jones, that's his puppet. The thing here, and people were getting excited about Dion, and I had a feeling that they would, have that, but it seems like we talked about earlier, Voldy, I think it was like an episode or two ago, saying like he really likes it down in Colorado. He does his own thing. He calls the shots, everything like that. What it probably came down to is like Dion would say, do not interfere in these specific things. And I don't think Jerry agreed with that. So what does he do? He gets a guy who hasn't had any head coaching experience yet. He's, offense coordinator. He was with I think it was with Seattle, with Dallas and everything like that.
Jets,
Atlanta. So, he has that, but can he be an effective head coach is the question. When you have Jerry breathing down your neck and when he's making most of these decisions, and I don't care what anybody says, Jerry is off his rocker or something like that because he has no idea what to do with the current situation. So, yeah, that one, I think he could be out 2-3 years. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe he this is the opportunity he just wanted, and he can, get it done, even with Jerry breathing down his neck. Aaron Glenn is an interesting one, too. I feel like the Jets are kind of – they're done with let's go for an offensive – let's go for another defensive coordinator and try to right the ship. The thing is, the organization's been a mess for a while, and I feel like them being like, well, we can get Aaron Rodgers, he'll be healthy and everything. Well, he wasn't healthy, and he looked like an old man against with the Jets. And Saleh, I feel like Saleh did great with the defense, but he didn't have the right guys for the offense. And to be honest, I feel like he was the scapegoat and all that. But Aaron Glenn, I think he's got to have an understanding with Woody Johnson, the owner, and obviously I think it was the Broncos assistant GM or something like that. Apparently, um, KOC's roommate in college or something like that. I don't know,
Think so,
but
yeah.
yeah. So I think that's a close second. Liam Cohen. That press conference was cringe. Very,
Wolf.
very cringe. The Duval thing was really bad. But
Worst
yeah,
press conference, him or Nick Sirianni?
Sirianni's was bad too. I mean, his was especially,
He just got a little too far out in front. He got too amped too quick was the thing. He didn't kind of ease into it. But
right. But he's playing in the Super Bowl here in about a week or so.
Twice in 4 years.
Which is crazy in itself. But yeah, I'm going to go with Pete Carroll in this one. With all the ones that we've listed and whatnot, I'll go with Pete Carroll and the Raiders. Foldy, what do you got?
Out of this list, nobody really jumps off the page. Of course, Pete Carroll being the one, but there's a lot of question marks there in Vegas. Like just look at the coaches in the AFC West. You got Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and then you've got Sean Payton. Those are all Super Bowl caliber, head coaches. Of course, 3 of them have won Super Bowls. The odd man out, surprisingly, is Jim Harbaugh, and he's the one that he's been to a Super Bowl, but didn't win it against the Ravens back in 2012. But, Brian Schottenheimer, he's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride, and this is probably a worse time to be walking down the altar or walking down the aisle right now, heading to the altar with being head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. If it was anywhere else, I'd be like, all right, let's see what the guy's got. Aaron Glenn's an interesting one. You go back to the team that drafted you. Sure, it's a nice story, but again, who's going to be the quarterback? What situation's that? Is ownership going to be much more involved than we've seen in years past? Are they going to pull away even further? Then you've got Jacksonville, their whole situation. They still don't have a GM. Head coach is cringe, to say the least, with that whole situation that they have, too. Of course, with the hiring process that led to him. Of course, he was going to be the highest paid coordinator. Then he ducks his way out of Tampa, ends up in Jacksonville. This is kind of weird, honestly, but I want to say it's going to be Pete Carroll. I feel like him. That combination. They also have a new GM in Spytech as well, which sounds like a scandal, if not an actual person's name. When they kept talking about Spytech, I thought they were talking about a company that's going to be working with the Raiders and not the name of the GM. But also a guy that was teammates with Tom Brady at Michigan, believe it or not, that being Spytech. So that's going to be a lot has the Tom Brady stamp, and the Tom Brady tree is starting to extend a lot more in Vegas so far. So hopefully that leads to success, I should say. But with that being a 3-year deal for Pete Carroll, I think that's going to be enough time to at least start building on a few things. Of course, get a couple draft classes under Pete Carroll, and we certainly know he can draft. He's had a lot of success in the draft, but what free agents are you going to get to come to Vegas? Is Russell Wilson available? Do you try and go run after a young quarterback in the draft this year, or do you wait till next year? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there, but if I had to pick one guy, I'm going to pick Pete Carroll as well. I think that one definitely, drives things more home for me than the other selections.
Yeah, it'll be, and again, like the things that will be like, oh, it's a terrible hire and everything like that. Then all of a sudden they're winning all these games and winning a division or things like that. So, I mean, we'll see. It's maybe the Raiders are too far gone. I could see that too, but TFB is kind of leading the way over there too, so should be interesting. All right, Voldy, next one, please.
Well, we head to the world of the NBA where, Jimmy Butler and drama continue to be hand in hand as of late. The Miami Heat decided to suspend Jimmy Butler yet again, the 3rd time in the last calendar month, but this one could very well be indefinitely after Jimmy Butler walked out of practice and after a hearing, the team planned to bring him off the bench after being a starter for the disgruntled likes of Jimmy Butler in his time in Miami. This could very well end his time with the 6th year under, of course, with him being on the Miami Heat. But of course, trouble has not been too far behind Jimmy Butler in his time with the Miami Heat and also in the league as a whole. Of course, NBA trade deadline does come up on February 6th, so that very well could be something that looks like could be of interest for maybe teams that want to bring in Jimmy Butler, but given his track record as of the last few years, very well could be the end of his time in the NBA. With everything that's been going on with Jimmy Butler in his time thus far with the Miami Heat and now his latest suspension, is it absurd or approved? Will Jimmy Butler play another game this season, but will it be in another uniform?
Oh, this was when I saw this pop up, and when everything that has happened, especially if you've been watching this show, one of the first few episodes, we talked about the infamous practice and everything like that. But a large group of people said that, no, this was the Wolves issue. This isn't a Jimmy issue. This is the Wolves. They're the ones who. Well, I tried to document all the points in time with the timeline of how that all went about very explicitly. But again, some of these people don't want to listen. See, he's brought them to a finals and everything like that. You see what the issue is with him. It doesn't matter if he does that. And again, he's a hell of a player. Don't get me wrong. He's a hell of a player. Mm-hmm. But the thing that irks me the most is that when people try to defend him by saying it's okay to act this way, it's okay to act like, you effing need me, all that mumbo jumbo with Jimmy Butler. And guess what? It's coming back to bite him in the ass now. Let's go to Philadelphia real quick. He gets to Philadelphia, and then the few months into his tenure, he aggressively challenged Coach Brett Brown's Big Three hierarchy and his own role on offense. So he's like, I want it, this is how I'm going to do it. And this is how I'm going to show Simmons and Embiid and everything like that. Well, he said, I don't know who the F was in charge and everything like that. And it just showed, hey, like this is a big issue. And then the Sixers decide to re-sign Tobias Harris instead of Butler. He was eligible for a 5-year, $190 million deal with the 76ers. But they decided to go with Tobias Harris, and he was pissed about that. So where does he go? Mm-hmm. The Heat. So let's fast forward just all the way up to what's going on right now. People are asking, you got to trade Jimmy. There's been some, they have failed to, agree to an extension in the offseason and this past year and whatnot. And he was asked on December 31st, do you want to be in Miami? That's a good question. Oh, well, see, that's when you've already lost him. And Riley, apparently, Riley and him, were going back and forth. Riley said, we're not trading you. And he said, nope, I want to be traded, yada, yada, yada. Moving on from here. And he gets told on January 27th, which was 2 days ago, he was being replaced in the starting lineup. He walked out of practice, and he is now suspended indefinitely. So for all those people, and I'll send it over to you here, Voldy, but for all those people, that said, it's not Jimmy, guys. It's not Jimmy. He's a hard worker. He does what he is proving my point right now. He's proving my point right now. And it feels good to be right. I'm telling you, it feels fantastic to be right about that whole situation regarding Jimmy Buckets. And, this is what he does. And I will say this, if he does get traded to like the Suns or Memphis, I think there was thrown in there. I'm not saying he's going there, but potentially. But it just shows this is who he is. Yes, he will be playing in a different uniform this season at some point. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts?
I mean, the short answer out of it all is yes, he's going to be playing a different game in a different uniform. But who's going to take him with all this drama? I know that there is way too much going on with Jimmy Butler, and I remiss the fact that of that timeline that was put out, of course, the time in the bubble. Where was the date and time of when Jimmy Butler was clapping them cheeks of Rachel Nichols? I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. Reports unconfirmed nor confirmed. Jimmy Buckets was getting after Rachel Nichols one way or another in the bedroom. I cannot confirm that directly. That is hearsay after hearsay. But thrown on top of all that, Jimmy Butler, man, just one of those guys you just think getting in his own way. I don't want to say along the same lines of Antonio Brown, but it's not helping his own cause right now. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. I just don't understand where out of no matter where you've been, there's been issues. I mean, you can continue to say it's always somebody else, but sooner or later you gotta start pointing the finger at yourself and saying, maybe I'm the problem out of all this. Maybe I need to take a good look in the mirror and understand why things aren't going the way that they should. But when things are good, Jimmy Butler's great. When things aren't good, you might as well just fold up the franchise and start at square one all over again. But yes, he will be playing a different game, playing in a different uniform the next time he does play. I don't know when that'll be, but trade deadline does come up next week in the NBA. I could very well see him getting shipped somewhere if he doesn't get released by the Heat.
It is. I think Riley's just got to give in and just get rid of him. I mean, this is the only way that you can get around this whole thing. You got to come up with a plan, or else you're screwed. I mean, you are pretty much screwed. But one other thing I want to mention, he's been putting out some tweets, or not tweets, but posts about things like, referencing like being jobless and things like that, not being able to cash his check. He's trying to be funny and all this, and it's like, you're making your situation worse, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really are. But, he won't listen to that. And again, right. It just shows how bad of a, not a good person. He's not. He's so emotional and gets into his feelings a lot. And, the thing is what has he won? That's my question. I'm just saying, he's been to the finals, yes. But what has he done? He hasn't won it. He says that, I can get you there, but can't win it.
Can't win the big one.
Can't
win the big one.
All right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of college football, soon to be the NFL, and of course, a prized pick or potentially prized pick, former Colorado quarterback Sheduersanders, son of Deion Sanders, said this past week that he is unsure if he will throw at the NFL scouting combine coming up next month in Indianapolis. Of course, Saunders is attending the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is set to be played here tomorrow, believe it or not. But he's not practicing, or is he going to participate at the East-West Shrine Bowl on the campus of the University of North Texas coming up here tomorrow. That game is set to be taking place. I have my own thoughts and feelings of him even being there in the first place. With everything that's taken place, Saunders continues to say that he is worthy of the top pick and has been training relentlessly to get to this point, even being a, quote, program changer no matter where he's been, coming up from youth all the way through high school into college, now hopefully to be in the pros, and saying that he is worthy of that top pick. Is it absurd or approved? Should Shedeur throw at the combine coming up here next month in Indy?
To answer the question right away, it doesn't matter to me, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, we've seen him throw and everything like that. And, some guys don't need to prove. I don't think Caleb Williams did last year, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Does that sound right?
I believe so. Yeah, okay. I believe.
So, So I guess it's not a huge deal, but would it hurt? No, I don't think it would hurt. I think he'd do okay. Now, him saying he's be a program changer and X, Y, and Z here. The one thing about him that I am concerned about, and I think you would agree with this too, is he has to. And again, however Dion goes about things and whatnot. I would say he's got to earn the respect of his teammates, wherever he's drafted and everything like that. This can't be a situation where you're like, I'm the star, this is how I'm going to do everything, you're going to listen to everything I say, like it's a dictatorship or something. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me if you approach it that way. You have to earn the respect of your teammates and everything like that. If you're saying you're a program changer and everything like that, get along with your teammates, do whatever you can to help them win games and everything like that. Listen to your coaches. I know for sure that I know Dion has his hands on everything. Apparently, he doesn't want him to be on specific teams and everything like that. And again, I'm not going to tell him how to, father his son, because I am not a father yet. But again, I just kind of look at it from that perspective, like, earn the respect of your teammates, show that you can play at a high level. So, all right. But short answer is, doesn't matter. It's fine. He can go without throwing. So, Voldy, what do you got?
My question is, and the first thing that I said when I saw these articles that we're referencing and taking a look at, then why are you even there in the first place? Like, yes, I understand there's a lot of conversations that take place with, front office, those that are going to be making the decisions of whether to draft you or not. Then why even show up in the first place? Why even be there? Can't you set up your own time to talk? I'm sure there are, there are rules and things in place that you can't talk with certain teams outside of designated times, things of that sort. Of course, the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Combine, the Senior Bowl as well, being some of those big highlight things that happen that where players, scouts, front office, GMs, coaches as well can all convene and have those conversations. But like, why, if you're there, why not do something out of it? Because in my mind, if you're a guy that shows up, and this is probably a good reason why I'm not an NFL GM or a coach or a scout as well, if you're not participating, what makes me think otherwise that you're just not going to do anything that is said or done once you get to the pro level? Things get hard for you. What's saying that you're just going to quit and look for your way out of that? I am of the mindset that I want to show everything that I can. If I'm Shedeur Sanders, I want to show everything that I can to say I am worthy of the top pick. Here's the reason why. I'm out here taking down Cam Ward. I'm taking down Quinn Ewers. I'm taking down all these other quarterbacks that people say, hey, he could be the first quarterback taken off the board. No, that's going to be me. Here's the reason why. Of course, you do have the pro day coming up, which is, the be all end all final push for certain players to say, hey, this is how you draft me. This is what I bring to the team too. But of course, the conversation that did obviously take place, he spoke with the top three teams that are in that draft order with Tennessee, Cleveland, and the Giants too. He had a very long extended conversation apparently with the Titans, who hold the number 1 overall pick. Be interesting to see if they do go quarterback first overall. But of course, the conversations, or at least some hopes, have been linked between that maybe Shedeur and the Giants would be very interesting for him on top. But if you're going to be at the Combine, if you're going to be at the East-West Shrine Bowl, then do something. Don't just sit there and talk the whole time, because sooner or later, you're going to have to back up what you're saying. And the fact that he's just talking and not doing continues to irk me on top of it. I think he should definitely throw, but obviously he's going to throw on his pro day. I would certainly hope. Otherwise, you're just taking game film and just having educated guesses by the time the draft comes through.
It is what it is. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know about you. There's just something off about him. They're just that's just me. But I could be wrong.
I don't know. Maybe it's the Dion effect taking
I think
hold
I
again.
think so too. The whole shtick and everything like that.
Right.
I'm kind of over it. It's
Mhm.
just, yeah. Anywho, next one, Foldy.
Well, we head to the world of the WNBA, where there have been a bevy of moves as of late. But the big one that really kicked things off is that there was a 3-team trade, including one of the stars of the WNBA. Kelseyplum will be heading to Los Angeles. Of course, the longtime player for the Las Vegas Aces. Is going to be switching teams for the first time in her career, I should say. In a blockbuster 3-team trade, the Las Vegas Aces acquired Seattle Storm guard Jewel Lloyd while sending their prize guard Kelseyplum to the LA Sparks. That will be involving. This is the first time that a team trade has involved multiple number 1 overall draft picks in league history. So to break down the trade as a whole, the Aces did pick up Jewel Lloyd and the number 13 pick in the upcoming 2025 draft from the Sparks. Well, the Sparks did get Kelseyplum, the number 9 pick, and a 2026 second rounder from Seattle, the Storm being the third team in that mix. Well, the Storm did get the number 2 pick from the Stars coming up here this year, including a player and also a first-round pick from the Aces coming up in next year's WNBA draft. Of course, with everything that's gone on, of course, with Kelseyplum in her career the last couple of seasons, including, of course, with a championship in not this past season, but the season before, and her stellar play since the beginning of her WNBA career. Is it absurd or approved? Of course, the Sparks have been a team that has been hopelessly trying to get back in the playoffs for a number of seasons. Will the Sparks be able to snap their 7-year playoff drought this upcoming season with the acquisition of Kelseyplum?
That's a good question. I feel like the Sparks kind of need, pun intended, the Sparks need a spark. They kind of they really haven't been the top tier for a while. I mean, Candace Parker and everything, they had a great, they beat the Lynx that one season and whatnot. But I believe they have is it Cameron Brink, the tall blonde? Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say
she tore her ACL this season, unfortunately. So hopefully she'll be back this coming year.
Yeah. So now that you have her, and then also it kind of shows like, okay, now the whole super team thing with the Aces is now gone. It seemed like they're ready to kind of part for that, and now that you add a veteran that has been proven and been very, very good as well and has leadership qualities, I think that they can make it back to the playoffs and kind of be a problem because you have Brink coming back, and now that you've added Plum to the mix as well, and then also Gumake, I think it was, is still with them as well. So now it's so now you have the situation of, okay, so now you have these pieces. Can you beat the teams like, the Liberty, the Lynx, and everything like that? Because that'll be the next step. Is Brink going to be healthy? Are they going to, not have any issues? So to answer your question, I'm going to give them my stamp of approval. I think that they'll start to bounce back a little bit and, give teams a run for their money. So it might take a little bit, but, you never know. So stamp of approval. Foldy, what do you got?
I think just adding a good, solid piece and veteran experience with Kelseyplum. Of course, she hasn't been in the league overly long, but she's had an impact, to say the least, no matter where she's been. Of course, being with the Aces, bringing a championship to Vegas as well. And, of course, being a gold medalist with Team USA on the 3-on-3 basketball has been quite a run for her as of late. Getting her involved with some of these young players like Cameron Brink and, of course, Rakia Jackson as well, who were lottery picks last season for the Sparks. could definitely be a jumpstart for a franchise that is looking to become relevant once again after, of course, the time of Candace Parker and the beginning of her career when they were winning titles in the early goings of the, I think like the mid 2000s, I think was the last time that they were relevant enough. Of course, they were a dynasty of a franchise, of course, right around the time that the LA Lakers were quite successful in those early 2000s. I think it's definitely a solid move. Of course, the offseason has been quite fluent with a number of players making moves left and right and signing new deals and also trades taking place. But I think for the Sparks, I think the playoffs are definitely a good start for them to go off of and just, try to build something with some of these young players that they've got. It's got my stamp of approval as well.
So I was wrong. Agumake is with the Seattle Storm. So that is
it looks like they're trying to re-sign her too. So
yep. So I mean the whole trade. I mean this is big. I mean this is one of the bigger trades. Now this can't be official until February 1st with Plum because she is.
Right.
It's a sign-in trade thing. So
yes,
but she signed off on it. She will sign off on it. This is what we're hearing. Mm-hmm. So that's what we got with that. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, this was an interesting one, just given the fact of success that we've seen in the world of the NFL and a coach that was quite a favorable coach and has hoisted a few of these in his time. Well, in a conversation most recently taken place with now head coach for the University of North Carolina football program, Bill Belichick said that maybe that the Lombardi Trophy handed out to the winner of the Super Bowl in the NFL ought to be renamed the Tom Brady Trophy. Of course, Tom Brady winning 7 Lombardi trophies in his time, being a 3-time Super Bowl MVP on top of it. Well, of course, the Lombardi Trophy named after legendary Green Bay Packers head coach who led his team to wins in the first 2 Super Bowls, had his name, of course, being synonymous with the championship for the Super Bowl. Of course, with that also being said, I'm sure there are quite a few people that would probably balk at the idea, most of them that wear cheese heads and green and gold on top of it. Is it absurd or approved given the fact that Tom Brady has won 7 Lombardi trophies? Well, Lombardi himself won 2 Super Bowls. I don't think he won the trophy named after himself. Should the Lombardi Trophy be renamed the Brady Trophy and given to the winner of the Super Bowl?
Doesn't roll off the tongue well, does it?
It doesn't.
It just it doesn't, and it's not because of. I mean, his accomplishments are amazing. I mean, GOAT, whole deal. But I just, for the sake of NFL history, and I do like I like to be a historian here or there, but I just feel like you stick with the tradition of it. And again, this is coming from a Vikings fan, and yes, with the Lombardi Trophy. But again, this is legendary. Think about it. I mean, this was like the top coach ever in the history of sports. Not saying he is by far or anything like that, but at the time, yes. I mean, this was the guy. But I just feel like with the history and the sake of the NFL, the Lombardi Trophy is something that, is historic. I mean, that's really all I can say with it. So no, I think it's, I think it's absurd in my opinion, just because, you got to stick with the history with it and whatnot. And the Lombardi Trophy rolls off the tongue. Everybody knows what you're talking about. The Brady Trophy, I think it could be something. There could be another instance where they have something named after one TFB. But the Lombardi Trophy, I don't think anyone can really touch that. But I see why Bill said it. I mean, that was his guy, for years and years. So I get it. But no, I think it's absurd. I'm sorry. Voldy, what do you think?
I'm all about Tom Brady getting more and more recognition, of course, as a loyal follower of TFB to the death of me. The Lombardi Trophy, there's just something about how it rolls off the tongue and the syllables that go along with it And then if you would go along and rename it the Brady Trophy, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. And a correction as well, Tom Brady was a 5-time Super Bowl MVP winner as well. I said 3, and I had to double check. 5 times out of 7 Super Bowls, he was the MVP. Let's just go out and throw this into the mix. How about the Tom Brady Super Bowl MVP award? There we go. That's what it should be named after. That's what Tom Brady should get more recognition on top of it. No, I don't think you should rename the Lombardi Trophy the Tom Brady Trophy. I'm sure Tom Brady is going to be recognized enough here. Of course, he's going to be calling the Super Bowl this year. And I'm sure sooner or later, maybe in years where he's not broadcasting the Super Bowl, he'll be the guy handing the Lombardi up to the stage or whatever, because they do that with former players now. And I always look forward to seeing who it's going to be. I can't remember who did it last year, but it was like a couple years ago. Was it? I think I remember Michael Strahan did it recently.
Richard Seymour, I think did it, didn't he?
Richard Seymour, yes, he did it. I think Jerome Bettis did it a couple years ago or something like that. It's like, I'm sure we're going to get a run here of maybe. Maybe I don't know, but I think we're going to get I feel like we're going to get a run here of Patriots here soon. Maybe we'll get maybe I guess maybe probably be like it's usually a guy in the Hall of Fame, I think, so that would probably help. We'll get maybe get a Rodney Harrison, hopefully, when he makes it into the Hall of Fame. Maybe on top of that. But getting back to the main point, no, it's going to be the Lombardi Trophy till the end of time. If they do change it, I think there'll be a lot of people that'll be upset about it, us included for sure. Even being named after a Green Bay Packers head football coach. Lombardi was a guy that transcended wherever he was in his time. Of course, he was a he was a coordinator with the Giants. He was, him and Tom Landry were coordinators
head coach of Washington.
He was head coach of Washington during that the late stages of his career. Him and Tom Landry were coordinators for the Giants under, I believe, who was the head coach at that time? Either way. Lombardi transcended the sport and even wherever he was coach at. It's a recognizable name, but of course, well known for his time in Green Bay. But I think the Lombardi Trophy is definitely a name that should stay on top of anything.
NFL history should be remembered, and that I think needs to. It's like Lombardi Trophy. Why is it called the Lombardi Trophy? Well, son, listen to the, it's like if you were telling Tate right now, that would be kind of, the little history lesson. And people got to learn that stuff, So, no, not a good idea. I think you leave it as is. So, definitely. With that being said, great job with Shield Shoutouts tonight, Voldy. And he's got some Shield Shoutouts involving a drink, per se. So we will get it going with some Shield Shoutouts.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shout out tonight?
I have to give a big Shield shout out to a wonderful franchise coffee drive-through chain, that being Scooters Coffee. Most recently, a location opened up in Sauk Rapids, an easy 3-minute drive from the, of course, Granite City Studios here in St. Cloud, and getting me through today. Rough couple of nights here as of late. Somebody doesn't want to sleep through the night. I'm not going to name names or anything, but today, before I picked up the kids, had to go full soccer mom, get the coffee, get the kids, get home, because I was dead on my feet since about 2:30 this morning. Got through a full day of work and had to get the kids before Sarah got home from work. And big shout out to Scooters Coffee, Oreo blender, a couple shots of espresso. I'm feeling fantastic right now. I'm sure about 30 minutes after the show is done here, I will be asleep in my bed. Hopefully somebody follows along too. But again, I'm not naming names. Shout out to Scooters Coffee. That's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Not naming any names. We're not naming
any names.
Nothing. Nada. Anyway, great job with Shield Shoutouts as always. I'll have to try that next time we do our.
Oh, it's so good.
Head up there. So I will keep that in mind. Yeah, usually I say, pick them, guys. No, not anymore.
No pick 'em?
That's all done.
No fantasy?
Yeah, nothing. No fantasy, nothing. But we
Super
got
Bowl
the
special.
special
The only
coming
thing.
away. Super Bowl
Yep,
special.
that's the
Keep an
only
eye
thing.
out for more information on that. We are currently working on that. And also, our logo, 5-year logo, is still in the works. Kelsey is working hard at it, and we appreciate it. If you didn't get to see it, here it is right here. Just kind of the beginnings of it and whatnot. Really cool, I will say.
Very cool.
But it's
A lot
not
of
done yet.
positive feedback from the people I've
Yes.
shown the 5th anniversary logo. They're excited.
Everybody is excited. We're thrilled, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. So, with that being said, guys, we got merch. We got plenty of merch, guys. We got the quarter zips. We've got the sweatpants. We've got the winter hats. If you're like, I need a better winter hat, listen. I will say too, a lot of the zoners love the winter hats, and two of them being Double Trouble. They've been wearing it. They've been sending me snaps of them wearing it. I'm just like, have people? I asked them, I was like, have people asked you like what that is? And they're like, yeah, actually they have. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. So there you go. I mean, we're everywhere, man. We're in Iowa. We're around here. I mean, it's awesome. So make sure you check it out. We got the regular hats as well. They are still available. We got a good chunk available. We got stickers. We've got shirts. And, we got a ton of stuff. We can get them to you, give you prices, whole deal. All right. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic and Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers, as always, and W2 Performance, our guy, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. He's doing some awesome things, YouTube videos on the daily. He is kicking ass, taking names. The dude's ripped to hell. He's just awesome. He's Rattel, man. The Brotherly Ballers podcast. Make sure you check those guys out. Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. A little bit of the off season, but they do some stuff in between. So make sure you check out their stuff. Shout out to our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., TLS Performance, doing some awesome things there as well. And make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff and Ryne Myhrberg, Omni Entertainment. They got new episodes weekly, so make sure you check those guys out on YouTube. With that being said, that is going to do it for episode 225. We will be back next week, and then after that, Super Bowl special. It should be a lot of fun with that, and the mini helmets will be sent off to Mikey Lawrence through Voldy. Yep. But Mikey Ryan as well, so those will be sent on the way. And, let us know if you're interested in next year with Pick'em and Fantasy. We'll see who is coming back, who's not, and we'll go from there. All right, without further ado, remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.